The collision happened on a Tuesday. Aaron was at Hamilton Technologies, actually attending a full day of meetings, trying to catch up on weeks of distraction. The quarterly review had gone well. Numbers were strong. Investors were happy. Richard had grudgingly admitted that maybe Aaron's personal development hadn't destroyed the company. At 3 p.m., his phone buzzed with a text from Sandy. "Sandy, need a favor. Any chance you're free tonight? Aaron, for you, always. What's up?" Sandy, critic coming to La Maison. Anonymous, but I have it on good authority. It's Patricia Kensington from the Nashville scene. Kinda freaking out. "Aaron, you're going to be amazing. She'll love it. Sandy, can you come? I know it's last minute, but I work better when you're there." Aaron looked at his calendar. He had a dinner meeting with potential investors from Silicon Valley. Important people. 7-figure deal potential. He texted back without hesitation. "Aaron, I'll be there at 5. He canceled the dinner meeting. Jennifer looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "Mr. Hamilton, these investors flew in specifically to meet with you. Reschedule for tomorrow. Tell them something came up." "What came up?" "Something more important." That night at La Maison Dorée, Aaron watched Sandy orchestrate her kitchen with breathtaking precision. Every dish that went out was perfect. Every server was briefed. Every detail was considered. Patricia Kensington, a severe woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharper pen, sat at table 12, ordering methodically, taking notes, revealing nothing. Sandy was vibrating with nervous energy. Aaron stayed close, not helping. He'd learned he just got in the way during high-pressure service, but present. A steady, calm presence in her controlled chaos. When Kensington finally left at 10:30 p.m., Sandy practically collapsed against the kitchen wall. "How do you think it went?" Gabriella asked nervously. "I have no idea," Sandy admitted. "She has the best poker face I've ever seen." "You were brilliant," Aaron said. "Everything was perfect. Perfect isn't always enough. Not in this industry." The review came out 3 days later. "Welcome to part 2 of If I Pay for Everyone. Will you marry me?" The waitress's reply, silenced the millionaire. And before we proceed, please like this video, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love to know how far and wide our story travels. Aaron was in a meeting when his phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. He finally checked and saw 17 messages, mostly from numbers he didn't recognize. The one from Sandy was simple. "We did it." He excused himself from the meeting and opened the Nashville Scene website. The headline read, "La Maison Dorée, Nashville's new crown jewel of fine dining." Patricia Kensington's review was glowing. She praised the food, the service, the ambiance. She called Sandy a visionary restaurateur and predicted that La Maison Dorée would become one of the city's essential dining destinations. 4.5 stars. Aaron was grinning at his phone when Richard Chen walked past. "Good news? Great news. A friend just got an incredible review. Must be some friend," Richard observed. "You're smiling more than when we closed the Denver deal." Aaron looked up. "She is some friend. She?" Richard's eyebrows rose. "Aaron Hamilton has a girlfriend? This is news." "It's not. We're not." Aaron stopped. "It's complicated. It always is." Richard clapped him on the shoulder. "For what it's worth, whatever you're doing differently, keep doing it. You're less of an insufferable ass than you used to be. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Don't let it go to your head." That night, Aaron took Sandy to Taqueria El Corazon to celebrate. Rosa made them a special feast dishes, not on the menu, family recipes, pure celebration. 4.5 stars. Sandy kept saying, shaking her head in disbelief. Patricia Kensington gave me 4.5 stars. You earned it. We earned it. The team earned it. She looked at him seriously. You being there that night, it helped. It really helped. I'm glad. They ate and laughed and talked about the future. Sandy's reservations were already booking out weeks in advance. The other 2 restaurants were seeing increased traffic. Everything was working. This is it, Sandy said softly. This is what I dreamed about when I was risking everything. It's just the beginning, Aaron assured her. You're going to do incredible things. Sandy reached across the table and took his hand. Thank you for believing in me. From that first disastrous night until now. You've been exactly what I needed. Aaron felt his heart do that stupid thing again. Sandy, I need to tell you something. Okay, I'm falling for you. Actually, I've already fallen. I'm just finally admitting it out loud. She didn't pull her hand away. Didn't look scared. Just smiled, soft and real and beautiful. Good, she said. Because I've fallen too. They kissed across the table at Taqueria El Corazon, while Rosa cheered from the kitchen and mariachi music played from someone's phone. And Aaron thought that this messy, imperfect, beautiful moment was worth more than every dollar in his bank account. But their happiness was about to be tested in ways neither of them expected. Because Derek Morrison's steakhouse was opening in 2 weeks, and at Hamilton Technologies, there was a problem Aaron hadn't seen coming. His cousin, Victoria Hamilton, had just returned from London and was calling for an emergency board meeting. The subject: Aaron's fitness to continue as CEO. The attack came from 2 sides simultaneously. Derek Morrison's steakhouse, Ember and Oak, opened with tremendous fanfare. Full-page ads in every Nashville publication, celebrity appearances, social media blitzes, and pricing deliberately set to undercut La Maison Dorée while still maintaining an upscale image. He's trying to suffocate me, Sandy said, looking at Ember and Oak's menu on her laptop. Look at this prix-fixe menu at $85. I charge $110 for a comparable experience. Aaron, sitting beside her in her small office above La Maison Dorée, studied the menu. But yours is better. Doesn't matter if customers see his price and go there instead. The Kensington Review was 3 weeks ago. In this industry, you're only as good as your last service. Sandy ran her hands through her hair, a gesture Aaron had come to recognize as stress. I need to respond, but I can't lower my prices without compromising quality. That defeats the entire purpose. So don't compete on price. Compete on experience. Sandy looked at him. What do you mean? Aaron thought about it. This was familiar territory: market competition, strategic positioning, brand differentiation. Derek is betting that Nashville diners will choose a good meal at a lower price over an excellent meal at a premium. But what if you offered something he can't compete with at any price? Like what? Access, intimacy, exclusivity. Aaron was getting excited now, the strategist in him waking up. You don't have the investor backing he has, but you have something better. You have authenticity. You're the chef owner. You're in the building every night. What if you leaned into that? Sandy's eyes lit up. Chef's table experience, limited seating. I cook for them personally, talk them through each dish, tell the stories behind the food. Exactly. Charge a premium for it. Make it so exclusive there's a waiting list. Derek can't replicate that because he's not a chef. He's just money. Aaron Hamilton, Sandy said slowly. Are you secretly brilliant at business strategy? I've been known to have my moments. She kissed him. You're brilliant. This could work. While Sandy implemented her new strategy, Aaron was fighting his own battle. The emergency board meeting was called for a Friday morning. Aaron arrived early, prepared with reports, projections, evidence of the company's continued success under his leadership. Victoria Hamilton was already in the boardroom, looking elegant and dangerous in a tailored suit. Her blonde hair pulled back severely, her expression calculating. "Aaron," she said pleasantly, "so glad you could make it. It's my company, Victoria. Where else would I be?" That's precisely the question we're here to address. The board filtered in. 12 members, half of them inherited from his father's era, half appointed by Aaron himself. He knew where most of them stood. But there were 3 votes that could swing either way. Victoria began her presentation at exactly 9 a.m. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice smooth and professional, "I've called this meeting because I'm concerned about the direction of Hamilton Technologies under its current leadership." She pulled up slides showing Aaron's recent absences, missed meetings, declined business opportunities. "In the past 3 months," Victoria continued, "our CEO has missed 37 scheduled meetings, turned down 4 significant investment opportunities, and delegated crucial decisions to subordinates. Meanwhile, our competitors have been gaining ground." "Our competitors are always gaining ground," Aaron interjected. "That's called a competitive market." "True, but typically our CEO is focused enough to respond appropriately. Can you say that's been the case lately?" Aaron felt the room's attention swing toward him. "I can say that I've been maintaining a healthier work-life balance while still ensuring the company's continued success. Our numbers speak for themselves." "Numbers aren't everything," Victoria countered. "Leadership requires presence, vision, dedication. From where I'm sitting, you've been dedicated to something else entirely." One of the board members, Gerald Hartman, cleared his throat. "Aaron, I hate to say it, but Victoria has a point. You've been less accessible than usual. Is everything all right?" Aaron made a decision in that moment. He could lie, minimize, make excuses, or he could tell the truth. "I met someone," he said simply. "Someone who challenged me to examine whether I was living or just existing. Someone who showed me that there's more to life than this boardroom." The room was silent. "I've spent the last few months learning what it means to work with your hands, to build something from scratch, to be part of a team where everyone matters equally." Aaron looked at Victoria. "Yes, I've missed some meetings. Yes, I've delegated more. But I've also learned skills that are making me a better leader. Empathy, patience, humility." "How touching," Victoria said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "But this company doesn't need a sensitive leader. It needs someone willing to make the hard choices." "I've made every hard choice required of me." "Have you?" "Because I have evidence that suggests otherwise." She pulled up another slide. This one showed a declined acquisition, a smaller tech company that Aaron had passed on 2 months ago. "This company," Victoria said, "was acquired last week by our primary competitor for $50 million. It's now being integrated into their AI division, giving them a significant advantage. We had first right of refusal. You declined without even presenting it to the board." Damn. Aaron had declined that deal because it would have required mass layoffs of the target company's employees, people who'd built the business, who would have been made redundant by the merger. "I declined," Aaron said carefully, "because the human cost outweighed the strategic benefit." "The human cost?" Victoria shook her head. "Aaron, we're not running a charity. We're running a technology company. Sometimes people lose their jobs. That's business. That's heartless business. That's successful business." The argument continued for 2 hours. Charts, projections, philosophical debates about leadership and responsibility. Finally, Gerald called for a vote. All those in favor of maintaining Aaron Hamilton as CEO? 7 hands went up. Those in favor of transitioning to new leadership? 4 hands. 1 abstention. Aaron remained CEO, but barely, and he knew Victoria wouldn't stop here. He left the boardroom exhausted and drove straight to La Maison Dorée. Sandy took one look at his face and pulled him into her office. What happened? He told her everything. The accusations, the vote, Victoria's vendetta. "I'm hurting the company," he said quietly. "By being with you, by learning from you, I'm giving her ammunition to take away everything my father built." Sandy's expression hardened. "Don't you dare." "What?" "Don't you dare use me as an excuse to give up on becoming who you want to be. Your cousin isn't attacking you because you're failing. She's attacking you because you're changing, and that threatens her." "Sandy." "No. Listen to me." She grabbed his hands. "You told me once that you didn't know what would make you happy. But you're figuring it out now, aren't you? You're discovering that maybe you don't want to be the person everyone expects you to be. Maybe you want to be someone different. Someone better. What if different costs me everything? What if staying the same does?" They stared at each other, the weight of the question hanging between them. Aaron's phone rang. "Jennifer." "Mr. Hamilton, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation. Derek Morrison is here at the office, asking to see you." Aaron and Sandy exchanged glances. "Derek Morrison?" Aaron repeated. "Why would Sandy's ex be at my office?" "He says it's about a business opportunity. He's quite insistent." "Tell him I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and looked at Sandy. "This can't be a coincidence." "No," she agreed, her jaw tight. "It definitely can't." Derek Morrison was exactly what Aaron expected: polished, confident, and utterly insincere. He stood when Aaron entered the conference room, extending his hand with a practiced smile. "Mr. Hamilton, thank you for seeing me on short notice." Aaron didn't shake his hand. "Let's skip the pleasantries. Why are you here?" Derek lowered his hand, unperturbed. "I'll get straight to it. I've heard you're facing some internal challenges. Questions about your leadership, your focus, your priorities." "From who?" "Word travels in Nashville's business community, especially when it involves someone as prominent as yourself." Derek sat down, gesturing for Aaron to do the same. "I'm here to offer a solution." Against his better judgment, Aaron sat. "I'm listening." "Ember and Oak has investors who are very interested in expanding our portfolio. We're looking to acquire established restaurants with strong brands and proven track records." Aaron's blood ran cold. "You want to buy Sandy's restaurants?" "I want to make her a very generous offer. More than she paid for them. More than they're currently worth. Enough to clear her debt, fund whatever her next venture might be, and leave her financially secure for years. She'll never sell. She might. If the alternative is watching her restaurant struggle against better-funded competition, while her boyfriend loses his company trying to support her." There it was, the real play. "You think you can pressure me into pressuring her?" Aaron said slowly. "I think you're a smart businessman who understands that sometimes the best decision is knowing when to fold. Sandy is brilliant, but she's overextended. 3 restaurants is ambitious. Maybe too ambitious for someone without the backing to weather a prolonged competitive battle. Get out of my office." Derek stood, smoothing his suit. "Think about it, Mr. Hamilton. You can save your company and save Sandy's financial future. All you have to do is help her see reason. Or I can tell you to go to hell and figure out another way. That's certainly an option. But ask yourself, how long can you fight battles on 2 fronts? How long before something breaks?" Derek left, and Aaron sat alone in the conference room, his mind racing. He called Sandy immediately. "Derek just offered to buy your restaurants." Silence. Then, "He what?" Aaron explained the meeting. Derek's veiled threats, the impossible position they were being maneuvered into. "He's trying to use me against you," Sandy said, her voice shaking with anger. "He's betting you'll convince me to sell to protect your own interests. I would never." "I know you wouldn't. But Aaron, maybe he's right about one thing." "What?" "Maybe we're in over our heads. Maybe trying to have both your company and my restaurants and us. Maybe it's too much." "No," Aaron's voice was firm. "Absolutely not. We don't give up just because someone's trying to force us apart. Then what do? We fight smarter. Derek thinks he can outlast you financially. Victoria thinks she can outlast me politically. They're both assuming we'll fight alone." Aaron felt a plan forming. "What if we didn't?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we made this public? What if we showed Nashville exactly what's happening, a successful female entrepreneur being targeted by her ex, a CEO being attacked by his cousin for having the audacity to care about more than profit margins?" Sandy was quiet for a moment. "That's risky. We could both look like victims playing sympathy cards, or we could look like people fighting for what matters, for authenticity, for building something meaningful." "You'd really go public? Risk your reputation?" "Sandy, my reputation as a heartless businessman? I'm happy to risk that." She laughed, a real laugh despite everything. "You really have changed, haven't you?" "I'm working on it. Every day. Okay. Let's do it. Let's fight." The next morning, Aaron and Sandy held a joint press conference. They stood together outside La Maison Dorée, facing a crowd of journalists, food critics, business reporters, and curious onlookers. Aaron spoke first. "3 months ago, I walked into this restaurant planning to impress a woman with a grand gesture. Instead, she taught me that the grand gesture isn't what matters. What matters is showing up, doing the work, being present for the people and things you care about." He looked at Sandy. "She taught me that success isn't measured in quarterly earnings or stock prices. It's measured in the lives you touch, the communities you build, the legacy you leave that doesn't fit on a balance sheet." Sandy stepped forward. "I bought 3 restaurants because I believed Nashville deserved places where food and service and community mattered more than profit margins. I believed that even in a competitive industry, there was room for businesses built on passion and excellence." She paused. "I still believe that. Even when someone tries to use my success against the person I love, even when competition tries to drive me out through sheer financial force rather than by being better." The journalists started calling out questions. Aaron and Sandy answered them honestly. Yes, they were in a relationship. Yes, Aaron had been spending time learning the restaurant business. Yes, Derek Morrison had offered to buy Sandy's restaurants. No, she wasn't selling. No, Aaron wasn't stepping down as CEO. "We're here," Sandy concluded, "because we believe Nashville values authenticity. We believe you'll support businesses that care about more than the bottom line. And we believe that love, whether it's for a person, a craft, or a community, is worth fighting for." The press conference went viral. Within hours, it was picked up by national news outlets. The story had everything: romance, business drama, a woman entrepreneur fighting her ex, a reformed Playboy CEO finding his humanity. Support Sandy started trending on social media. Reservations at all 3 of Sandy's restaurants booked solid for months. Messages of support poured in from other small business owners, from people who dined at her restaurants, from Nashville residents tired of corporate chains pushing out local establishments. At Hamilton Technologies, the board reconvened in an emergency session. Victoria looked furious. "This is a PR stunt. This is honesty," Aaron countered. "Something this company could use more of." Gerald Hartman spoke up. "Actually, Aaron, I've been reviewing our social media analytics. Your approval rating has increased 43% since the press conference. Consumers are responding positively to the narrative of a CEO who values work-life balance and community investment. But," Victoria sputtered. "But nothing," another board member interjected. "The market likes this story. Our stock price is up. Aaron's made us relevant in ways our marketing department couldn't achieve with millions of dollars." The vote to confirm Aaron as CEO wasn't even close this time. 10-2. Victoria stormed out, and Aaron knew he'd made an enemy for life. He found he didn't care. At Ember and Oak, Derek Morrison was watching his reservations start to drop. Turned out Nashville didn't appreciate a man who tried to sabotage his ex-girlfriend's business. Turned out authenticity mattered more than he'd calculated. 6 weeks later, Ember and Oak quietly closed. Derek left for Atlanta. Sandy's restaurants were thriving. The chef's table experience at La Maison Dorée had a 6-month waiting list. Bistro Lumiere won a James Beard nomination. Piccolo was featured in Bon Appetit. Aaron had found a rhythm splitting his time between Hamilton Technologies and Sandy's restaurants, discovering that both made him better at the other. He'd hired a strong management team, learned to delegate effectively, and surprisingly found the company running more smoothly than when he'd been controlling every detail. One evening, 6 months after that first disastrous dinner, Aaron found himself back at La Maison Dorée. The restaurant was closed for a private event, a celebration for the staff. Sandy's way of thanking everyone for their hard work and dedication. Aaron stood in the dining room, now comfortably familiar with every table, every corner, every quirk of the space. He'd washed dishes here, folded napkins, carried plates, burned himself, broken glasses, and slowly, gradually, become part of this world. Sandy found him standing alone by the window, looking out at Nashville's lights. "Hiding?" she asked. "Thinking. About how different my life is now. About how terrifying and wonderful that is." She slipped her hand into his. "Any regrets?" "Not a single one." They stood together in comfortable silence, and Aaron felt more at peace than he had in years. "Sandy? Remember that first night when I tried to pay for everyone's dinner?" She laughed. "How could I forget? You were so proud of yourself. I was an idiot. A well-meaning idiot." Aaron turned to face her. "I've learned a lot since then. About humility, about work, about what actually matters. I've noticed, but there's one thing I still don't know." "What's that?" Aaron pulled a small box from his pocket and dropped to one knee. Sandy's eyes went wide. "Aaron, let me finish," he said, grinning up at her. "I promise this will be much better than my first proposal." She laughed, tears already forming in her eyes. "Sandra Bradley, you've taught me more about being human than anyone I've ever met. You've shown me that real wealth isn't in bank accounts. It's in knowing yourself, doing work you love, and building something meaningful with people you care about." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "I'm not asking as a customer anymore. I'm not asking as the CEO of anything. I'm asking as a man who's madly in love with you and wants to spend the rest of his life learning from you, growing with you, and probably still occasionally dropping your wine glasses." Sandy was fully crying now, but smiling through the tears. "I don't have a fancy speech prepared," Aaron continued. "I don't have a grand gesture. I just have me better than I was 6 months ago, but still a work in progress. Still someone who needs you to call him out when he's being an idiot. Still someone who's figuring out who he wants to be." He took a breath. "So, Sandy Bradley, will you marry me?" For a moment, She just looked at him. Then she pulled him to his feet and kissed him. "Yes," she said against his lips. "Yes, you ridiculous man. Yes." The staff, who'd been hiding in the kitchen watching through the window, erupted in cheers. Rosa from Taqueria El Corazon had catered the party and was openly weeping. Gabriella was taking photos. Michael was already planning the wedding reception. Erin slipped the ring onto Sandy's finger, and she held her hand up to the light, admiring it. "It's perfect," she said. "I had help choosing it." Rosa, Gabriella, and Michael basically staged an intervention when I showed them my first option. What was wrong with your first option? According to them, it was too flashy, too expensive looking, and screamed rich boy who doesn't get it. Sandy laughed. "They're not wrong. This is much better." The party continued late into the night. At one point, Aaron found himself in the kitchen with Sandy's core team, the people who'd become his friends, his teachers, his chosen family. "So," Gabriella said, raising a glass, "to Aaron Hamilton, who came in here 6 months ago as the worst dining customer in history and somehow became one of us. To Aaron." Everyone echoed. "I'm still terrible at plating," Aaron protested. "The worst," Sandy agreed cheerfully. "And my Bear Blanc breaks at least half the time." 60% of the time, Gabriella corrected. "And I still can't tell the difference between the fish forks and the dessert forks." "That's actually concerning," Michael added. Aaron laughed. Surrounded by people who teased him because they loved him, who expected nothing from him except honesty and effort. "Thank you," he said, suddenly serious. "All of you, for letting me be part of this, for teaching me that there's more than one way to be successful. You earned your place here," Sandy said, squeezing his hand. "Not with money or connections, with work and humility and showing up even when you were terrible at everything." "I'm still terrible at everything." "You're less terrible," she amended. "That's growth." Before we get to the beautiful ending, can we just take a moment to appreciate this journey? If this story has touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another incredible story. Also, drop a comment telling us what your favorite moment was. Now, let's see how Aaron and Sandy's story concludes. The wedding was planned for the spring, exactly 1 year after that first disastrous dinner. And Sandy had one very specific request. "I want to invite everyone who was there that night," she said. "Everyone who watched you make a fool of yourself and watched me put you in your place. They deserve to see how the story ends." Aaron loved the idea. Jennifer tracked down the guest list from that night, thankfully. La Maison Dorée kept detailed records. 42 diners had been present for Aaron's spectacular failure and Sandy's perfect comeback. Invitations went out with a note. "1 year ago, you witnessed the beginning of something neither of us expected. We'd be honored if you'd help us celebrate where that beginning led." 37 of the 42 RSVP'd yes. The wedding took place at La Maison Dorée on a perfect April evening. The restaurant was closed to the public, transformed with flowers and candlelight into something magical. The ceremony was simple, held in the main dining room. Marcus stood as Aaron's best man. Gabriella was Sandy's maid of honor. But the real magic happened during the reception. Aaron stood to give his speech, looking out at the crowd that included original diners, Sandy's staff, his colleagues from Hamilton Technologies, both their families, and friends from every corner of their merged lives. "A year ago," he began, "I walked into this restaurant thinking I knew exactly who I was. I was Aaron Hamilton, CEO, wealthy, successful by every conventional measure, and I was miserable without even realizing it." He found Sandy in the crowd, sitting at the head table, radiant in her simple white dress. "I tried to impress the woman who would become my wife by offering to pay for everyone's dinner. It was a grand gesture, the kind I'd always thought demonstrated generosity. Instead, It demonstrated everything that was wrong with my understanding of the world. Some of the original diners laughed, remembering. Sandy taught me right here, in front of many of you, that generosity without thought isn't generosity. It's ego. She taught me that real wealth isn't about money. It's about knowing who you are, doing work that matters, and building genuine connections with people who see you for who you really are, not what you have. He looked at Marcus. My best friend tried to warn me I was about to make a fool of myself. I didn't listen. I'm glad I didn't, because I needed to be that fool. I needed to be humiliated. I needed to be taken down several pegs by a brilliant woman who refused to be impressed by the wrong things. Aaron turned to address the original diners specifically. To those of you who were here that night, thank you for witnessing my worst moment. Thank you for not letting me pay for your dinners and interrupt your celebrations. You were having anniversaries, promotions, cancer survival celebrations. You didn't need my money. You needed your moments. He raised his glass. I understand that now. And I understand that the best thing that ever happened to me was being told no by someone who saw through all my pretense to the person I could become. Sandy was crying, mascara running, not caring at all. So here's to Sandy, Aaron concluded, who taught a rich boy that the best things in life can't be bought. They have to be earned. The room erupted in applause. Sandy stood for her own speech, wiping her eyes. When Aaron walked into my restaurant a year ago, she said, I thought he was just another wealthy customer trying to buy an experience he hadn't earned. I was partially right, he was trying to buy something. But what I didn't see was the loneliness underneath, the searching, the quiet desperation of someone successful by every measure except the ones that actually matter. She looked at Aaron. You drove me crazy. You dropped my wine glasses. You burned yourself on hot pans. You mixed up table numbers and confused chocolate with vanilla. You were the worst staging student I've ever had. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But you showed up. Every single day, you showed up. You didn't quit when it was hard. You didn't retreat when you were bad at something. You stayed, and you learned, and you became better. Not perfect, you're still terrible at plating. Hey, Aaron protested, grinning. But better, more humble, more human, more real. Sandy's voice grew softer. You also taught me something. I'd gotten so focused on building my business, on proving I could succeed, that I'd forgotten to leave room for partnership, for love, for letting someone see my vulnerabilities and struggles. She raised her glass. So here's to both of us. For growing, for failing forward, for building a life that's messier and more complicated and infinitely richer than either of us planned. They kissed, and the room exploded with applause and cheers. The party continued late into the night. At one point, Aaron found himself talking to the elderly couple who'd been celebrating their 30th anniversary that first night. We were rooting for you, the woman Margaret said. Even when you were being ridiculous. That's kind of you. Not kind. Honest. We've been married 31 years now. You know what I've learned? What's that? The best relationships start with someone being willing to be humbled. My Harold proposed to me by accidentally setting my porch on fire with a romantic candle display. Harold groaned. Do we have to tell that story? We absolutely do. The point is, Aaron, perfect doesn't build relationships. Real does. You were willing to be real, eventually. That's rare. Later, Aaron danced with Sandy in the middle of the restaurant where they'd met, surrounded by everyone who'd been part of their unlikely journey. Happy? He asked. Incredibly. Even though I'm still probably going to drop your wine glasses? Especially because of that. It keeps you humble. You keep me humble. That too. They swayed together as Rosa's nephew played guitar, as their combined families and friends celebrated, as the life they'd built together continued unfolding in all its imperfect beauty. Aaron thought about the man he'd been a year ago. Lonely, successful, lost. He thought about all the money he'd spent trying to feel significant, all the grand gestures that had meant nothing, and then he thought about washing dishes beside Sandy, about learning to make beurre blanc, about the quiet satisfaction of helping close the restaurant after a long service, about finding purpose in small, consistent acts of showing up and doing the work. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair. "For what?" "For saying no. For refusing to be impressed. For making me earn this." Sandy pulled back to look at him. "You're welcome. And thank you." "For what?" "For being willing to learn. Not every rich boy would have come back after being humiliated. Most rich boys don't meet women worth coming back for." She kissed him, and Aaron knew with absolute certainty that this partnership, this love, this life they were building together was worth more than every dollar he'd ever earned. Epilogue. 1 year later, Aaron sat in the office above La Maison Dorée, now converted into a shared workspace. On one side, Sandy's desk overflowed with menu plans and supplier invoices. On the other, Aaron's laptop displayed Hamilton Technology's quarterly reports. They'd found a rhythm. 3 days a week, Aaron worked from the restaurant, staying close to Sandy's world. 2 days a week, he was at Hamilton Technologies, maintaining the company his father built while implementing new policies around work-life balance, employee wellness, and community investment. The company was thriving. So were the restaurants. Sandy was pregnant. They'd found out 2 weeks ago, sitting in a doctor's office, holding hands, staring at a screen that showed something impossibly small and impossibly miraculous. "What if I'm a terrible father?" Aaron had asked in the car afterward. "You'll probably drop the baby at some point," Sandy had replied cheerfully. "That's not funny." "It's a little funny. Besides, you'll learn. You always do." Now, watching Sandy consult with Gabriella about the summer menu while unconsciously touching her still flat stomach, Aaron felt overwhelmed with gratitude. His phone rang. Victoria Hamilton. He almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Victoria." "Aaron." Her voice was stiff. "I'm calling to congratulate you on the baby." Aaron was speechless for a moment. "Thank you." "And to apologize for how I behaved. It was unprofessional and driven by jealousy." "Victoria." "I wanted what you had," she continued. "The company, the name, the success. I couldn't understand why you'd risk it for something as intangible as happiness. But watching you this past year, you're better now. At everything. The company's better. You were right, and I was wrong." That must have been hard to say. She laughed, a real laugh he'd never heard from her before. "You have no idea, but I'm working on being better too. Less ruthless, more human. You're not the only Hamilton who can grow." They talked for a few more minutes, tentatively rebuilding a relationship that had been fractured by competition and misunderstanding. When Aaron hung up, he felt lighter. Sandy appeared in the doorway. "Was that your evil cousin?" "Reformed evil cousin, apparently." "Character growth. I like it." She sat on his lap, leaning against his chest. "Rosa's nephew wants to propose to his girlfriend. He asked if he could do it at El Corazon and wanted advice." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to make it personal, make it meaningful, and definitely don't try to pay for everyone's dinner as a grand gesture." Aaron laughed, wrapping his arms around his wife and their growing family. "Sound advice. I learned from watching someone do it wrong first." "Hey, you know it's true." He did know it was true. and he wouldn't change a single moment of his spectacular failure because it had led him here. To this office above a restaurant. To this woman who'd seen past his worst qualities to his best possibilities. To this life that looked nothing like what he'd planned and everything like what he'd needed. "I love you," he said simply. "I know," Sandy replied. "You tell me every day while burning hollandaise. I'm getting better at hollandaise." "You're really not. I'm marginally better." "Okay, that's fair." They sat together as afternoon sun streamed through the windows, as the restaurant prepared for evening service below them, as their merged life continued in all its messy, beautiful reality. Aaron Hamilton had walked into La Maison Dorée 1 year ago trying to buy significance. Instead, he'd learned to earn it, and that, he discovered, made all the difference. So, what did you think of Aaron and Sandy's journey? Their story reminds us that true change comes not from humiliation alone, but from the courage to grow after being humbled. It shows us that wealth without wisdom is empty, and that the best relationships challenge us to become better versions of ourselves. Have you ever had someone refuse to be impressed by you, only to realize later they were exactly what you needed? Have you ever had to choose between who you were and who you wanted to become? Share your stories in the comments below. We read every single one and love hearing how these stories resonate with your own experiences. On a scale of 0 to 10, what would you rate Aaron and Sandy's story? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you think about your own relationships and priorities? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next heartwarming tale. We have so many more stories about love, growth, redemption, and the beautiful messiness of being human. Remember, the best things in life can't be bought. They have to be earned through patience, humility, genuine connection, and showing up even when you're terrible at everything. Growth isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to try, fail, learn, and try again. Thank you for joining us on Aaron and Sandy's journey. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep growing, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of someone who refuses to be impressed by the wrong things.